Okay, so where we go. So the first thing to ask is, this is the only slightly weird one, is who are you and what do you do for a living?
Sure. My name's Richard Jones and I am the owner of Key Music Management, which is a worldwide artist management company.
Great. Why do you think you ended up working in music, particularly in an independent company in music in the first place?
Basically, due to my upbringing, my father was a musician. I grew up classically trained from the age of 4. So I played in orchestras and bands and did all that, and then I was in bands at school and then at university. Then I joined a few bands that did quite well and toured the world and had records. And then I went to work for a record company and then realised I certainly didn't want to work for a record company anymore, and then I left to look after one of the bands, and then I ended up tour managing world tours all over the world for 10 years, and then one of the bands that were very big, probably the biggest band in the world at the time, fired their management, self-managed with me, working with them, and so the transition from that carried on, and then I went into management myself. And
could you let us know a little bit more about that story, who the band might have been, and what impact it had on you and the rest of your career? That sort of crisis management.
That was crisis management. It was. That was the Spice Girls, believe it or not. From I worked with them from all the way through from '97 through to 2001. All the way through everything, hundreds of millions of records later. But that was a massive learning process. But before that, I'd already been a musician. I'd already toured the world.
Yeah.
I'd already tour managed a lot of big tours around the world, and also worked for what was Polygram, Phonogram at that time, part of Universal now.
And what did working within a record company teach you? Perhaps that's helped you in the rest of your career?
It taught me that there was a lot of sitting down around meeting tables and discussing things and not really giving you the time to do the work.
And do you think that's still the case today?
No, to be fair, it was great because I was doing radio promotions, and it was late 80s, so the roster was Metallica, In Excess, Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, all sorts of stuff, and just massive artists, loads of big pop artists with Wet 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 and Swing Going, Curiosity and all that kind of thing, and then alternative, House of Love, Tears for Fears. God, we just had loads. It was brilliant. So I got to work a lot of massive, international artists. So it was really interesting. Actually.
And then let's fast forward to today. So just could you tell us a little bit about some of the acts that you work with?
We manage the Pixies, the American alt rock band. We manage Dead Can Dance. Both of those we've managed since 2004. We also manage 2 Danish artists, Agnes Obel and also Mew, who are both from Copenhagen. We also manage No Ceremony as well, and 808 State, and also the Fratellis as well. So we've got quite a big roster.
And then just on, because Agnes is a name that people in the UK are starting to know, but obviously over the channel and beyond, she's becoming something of a borderline superstar, I suppose.
Particularly in France, actually. The French have done a wonderful job with her. And I think her style and her kind of presentation of her music particularly appeals to the French, So, she's a wonderful artist. I started working with her just over a year ago. We worked through the whole of 2014 to get Aventine up to the level that it got up to, and now it's time to make another record.
You seem to have, and forgive me if I'm joining dots, I shouldn't be, you seem to have something of a nice relationship with PS. I mean, you're here, but obviously a lot of your artists are signed.
Yes, and a lot are, and I have to say I've really enjoyed working with them. The first project I did with them was Dead Can Dance, and then because I was so happy with that and really happy with the kind of the attention that was paid to the project outside the UK particularly, really, because you always expect, you're based in the UK, the office is in the UK, you often get the UK going, but it's outside of that's particularly good. And also they've got some very good people, and it's run very well, and it's run on a very kind of personable basis. It's a very open door. You can have very upfront conversations with people. You can say what you need to say. They can say what they need to say. And it's really good. It's very uncorporate in its makeup, and that suits a lot of the kind of artist that I've got to.
Yeah.
So.
PS or otherwise, we talked before, ask you what you look for, what you like in a label when you sign an artist to one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing you look for is their ability to do the job. And once you, if you like, you've got over that, then it's down to individual passion and a belief for the project. But they've still got to be able to deliver, and then be able to work a deal that works for the artist, for yourself, and for the label, so everyone feels good about it going forward. And some things are more successful than others, but that's okay, that's understandable. And some territories do better than you think they will, some do not quite as good, some do about the same, and then it's improving on those things with the label, and that's the good thing about having a really good relationship. You can go back in and, last time this didn't happen as it should have done, so we need to look at this, what should we do about this? With a we rather than what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. It's a very enjoyable working relationship.
And then the last question, the big question, I suppose. What would you say the high point and also the low point of your professional career in music has been?
I guess high point. I don't know about high point. I mean, people would say, selling out stadiums all over the world with the Spice Girls, whatever, but not really for me. I think my high point was the Pixies reforming and going on the first little tour that we did. Just one little bus just to test it all out to see if everyone could get along and actually play, and then finishing that tour with Coachella and going on stage in front of Coachella in 2004. That was pretty fantastic, actually.
Do you remember the moment that you were told that they were reforming? How did you get involved?
Well, yeah, I mean, there wasn't really a moment. It was a kind of a like, shall we? Yeah, shall we? Yeah, yeah, all right, shall we? Yeah, okay. So it's like, really? And everyone was like, I think so. It wasn't. It was typical Pixies. It wasn't like, yes, this is what we're going to do. This is the big statement. It was like, well, let's just see how it goes.
And did you have a relationship with Frank and others previously?
I had a relationship with Frank. Yeah, I'd worked with him on his solo records beforehand, so that's where I go.
And how do you rate Frank as a musician, as a performer?
Well,
as an artist?
I mean, I can say it, I was a big Pixies fan in the 80s, late 80s. I saw them when I was at University of Manchester, the first time they came with the Throne Muses. And I loved them. I just thought they were groundbreaking, but way too ahead of their time.
Yeah.
So they were never that successful, really, because they were kind of a bit too odd for everybody, which I kind of loved. But so yeah, I mean, I think they're very, very, very important in modern music, and incredibly influential.
And you've been helping them make up for a bit of lost time.
Yeah, and it's lovely that they're now bigger than they've ever been.
Yeah.
And can headline stadium festivals and big shows all around the world, which is delightful.
And then I can't let you go without talking about the low point.
The low point. Yeah, what is a low point? I mean, lots of times in tour managing and running big tours where everything goes wrong, that's a nightmare. I guess a low point, but it kind of was. I don't know, really. I haven't had that many.
I suppose a mistake you remember learning from would be.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think maybe in a way was like when I left the label, because I was like, oh God, I thought that would be good for me and I'd like it, but I just found it too frustrating and too restricting. And then after that, it was like, right, you got to go out on your own. So from that moment on, 1991, I've run my own business ever since. So that was, I guess, that was a bit scary.
Was it? So it was the leaving that was the low point, or the joining?
Yeah, well, exactly. No, I mean the joining was just like, let's see what happens here.
Yeah. And what was the moment after you left and you're frightened and you do have to go out alone, which obviously you've done successfully ever since?
Yeah.
What was the moment that perhaps made you think, I might get away with this, I might be able to do this?
I think it was the first big tour that I did after that, which was with a band that we'd actually signed to the label at the time, which is a band from Manchester called James. And we went out and we headlined Reading Festival. That was the first thing I did with them outside the record company. And so that was quite a big event, and that was like, oh, this is pretty good.
Yeah. And they're not.
Maybe we'll do this.
They strike me, I interviewed Jones and Tim, they strike me as perhaps not the most forgiving of errors or slip-ups.
They were hard work.
Yeah.
They were hard work, yeah.
But it paid off.
But good training.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. I guess that another highlight, actually, to be fair, was I worked with Woody Allen for a long time.
Wow.
tour with the jazz band. So
Yeah.
I did a world tour with Woody Allen. We made one of his films while we were doing it. So that was a bit of a high point
Yeah.
too. And I got to know him really well. And kind of, that was nice.
Are you optimistic about the record industry, and what do you make of the evolution into Spotify?
I am massively excited about the music industry, so I'm positive about it because I think there's enough people now and there's enough smart people to make sure that the industry doesn't fall down the same holes as it's done before. And personally speaking, although the model isn't perfect and isn't completely correct, for me the answer is streaming, and it should be supported as much as humanly possible by everybody, because once scalable, it can bring a decent return.
Yeah.
So people need to.
Is there anything you'd like, any direction you'd like to see streaming go in? That you have any thoughts?
Well, that's a very long conversation. I've got hundreds. I could give you a 100-point plan.
I mean, I just chucked the biggest question among the music.
At the moment, it's way too simple, and it's much more complex, and there's certain levels that it needs to go on. With the scaling of it, and also with the pricing of it, and also the quality of the actual music on it. So all of those things have got to be sorted out. But like anything, it takes a time. But it needs people to adopt it and support it and help it. You know, let's not be stupid again and be Luddites.